All right, guys, today we are going to be talking about some Pokemon investment, and we will be doing a recap of a couple comments that came up on the last video because, hey, they're really good information and some really good discussion that was happening on those comments. So we will go ahead and take a look at those right after this. All right, guys, so today we're going to be doing a little bit of a discussion on some of the comments that were on the last video. Here are 5 Pokemon sealed product investing ideas to consider now. Before we get into that, though, if you are new to the channel, be sure you hit that subscribe, hit that like button, guys. It helps this channel out a ton to hit that like button on these videos and keep it moving right along. Also, if you are new here or if you are an old member here, be sure you check your notifications and be sure that they are turned on to all videos. I did notice on my personal account that they have been shutting that off on some channels. I don't know why, but they do shut that off from time to time. So be sure that you go and check your favorite channels. Be sure that actually turned on. It really does make a difference to getting seen and when our videos are coming up so that you can keep up to date with what's happening in the Pokemon TCG. So without further ado, let's go into the video, which is going to be here are 5 Pokemon sealed product investing ideas to consider now. That was my last video on Monday, and there were some really good discussionary points inside of here that I would like to go over. One of them is a comment chain that was happening inside of here, and I don't know if they're done yet. I mean, they were having some really good back and forth, and I was actually enjoying reading the counter arguments that they were having with each other, because they weren't really mean or aggressive, but they were really good debate items when it comes down to the investability of Pokemon, how investable it is, and whether or not, which way it should go. It really was a yin and yang back and forth going between the two of them, having a discussion. So it'll be interesting to see how that carries on. It ended about 2 hours ago now with the recording of this, so we'll see where it is in the morning. It'd be kind of cool to see if they kick it back in. But we're going to go down to the first one. The first comment I want to cover here was something that was said during the video, and I do want to clarify this. Because I'm not throwing conspiracy out here, guys. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I try and keep this channel very, very, mindseted on the facts and through the facts of what's happened in the Pokemon TCG, whether it's past or present. And so the first one I got here is going to be Chris Gates. It's extremely frustrating that YouTubers with influence like you continue to spread conspiracy theories that certain boxes and products have better pull rates for a particular set. ETBs weren't really the best place to get that. Just because you pulled a card a few times from a certain box doesn't mean there's a higher chance of pulling it from that product. All right, now I just want to kind of cover this because what I said in there was not a conspiracy theory. So if anybody remembers back in Shining Fates in 2021, when it was released, it was during the middle of the pandemic. When it came down to it, ETBs, we knew that there was going to be one full art shiny vault card inside of that particular ETB. Whether it was going to be a VMAX, a Charizard, a Grimmsnarl, a Ditto, all the way through to the gold Eternatus cards that were inside of there. We knew that there was going to be one of those shiny vault cards, but we didn't know which one. And if you look at it, there are 18 shiny vault cards inside of that particular set. Now, to me personally, I'm not being conspiracy, it's just my own personal experience. Laprases were really easy to pull. Laprases and Dittos, I had a ton of them. Now, granted, it might have just been a regional thing. Who knows? I'm not going to say that anyone's printed more than the other one at the end of the day. What I am going to say is that you have a 1 in 18 chance of pulling a Charizard, even if you went through all of the full art shiny vault cards available. It's 1 in 18. If you figure that, that's a 1 in 180 pack pull rate. And I believe the Charizard at that point in time was like a 212 card pull or 212 pack pull rate. Shining Fates Charizard was not extremely hard to pull, but still it was about a 212, which is pretty darn close to that 180 card or packs if you were to get all the ETBs. It just seems to line up pretty darn close. So this was the deal. The Pikachu V boxes from Shining Fates that were available at that time had 4 packs inside of them. What was discovered is that when they were actually released, and this was back in 2021, the first round of those particular boxes. Now, I don't know if it holds for the new ones. This was the original round of these particular boxes. When they were released, it was found that if you could get 2 sequential cases, 2 or 3 sequential cases, and I'd say 3 because in case you got on the bad end of things, If you were to get at least 2 to 3 sequential cases and you open those Pikachu V boxes inside of those cases, and there were 6, 1 out of every 12, you were going to pull a Charizard VMAX. It was just the way that those cases were. That was brought up by Unlisted Leaf. That was on Reddit. That was on Twitter. It was on a few other YouTube channels. I mean, it was pretty common knowledge back then that those Pikachu V boxes were probably the best hits for a Charizard V, or your best chances to get a Charizard V. Granted, you'd have to have sequential cases, which is probably fairly difficult to begin with, but it had been proven by some people that it was possible. There was a guy on Reddit that did it a couple times. Unlisted Leaf did it once on his channel. And once again, it was one of them deals where it just ended up being that way. It wasn't a conspiracy because there was the facts that were driven behind it. Now, I'm not going to say that that's because that V-Box has been reprinted 4 or 5 times now. And I don't think that they've probably kept the same hit rates on that. But if you could find the original case of those, 2 sequential in a row, I would do 3 just to be safe. Like I said back then, try and get 18 of them. But 1 out of those boxes would more than likely have a Charizard VMAX in it. And that was not conspiracy. That was just actually what had happened. So I just want to clear that up. It's not a conspiracy thing. And yes, the ETBs were the harder pull rates for the Charizard VMAXs out of the Shiny Fates products. And, you know, it is what it is. That's just the way that it worked out at the end of the day. And once again, not trying to throw conspiracy out there. What I was putting out there was actually very much fact driven. Next thing I want to talk about here, the second one I got for a comment, is going to be starting off with 2 individuals of the channel, Ozzy Dream and James Graver. Or James Graves. Sorry, James Graves. Ozzy Dream put up a comment on here that says, I was surprised to learn recently that base set Sword and Shield and Rebels Clash have gone up an insane amount. I have some of these and they're hidden right at the back of my collection in the little shame corner where no one can see them, where I thought they'd be forever. I guess that just shows that given enough time, any Pokemon booster box will go up in value. Now, James Graves responds to this with, have you considered why they're going up? It's because of speculation. There is no real interest in a vast majority of these sets in the future. Pop reports are saturated to the max, and some of these sets now have no real appeal. It's merely because someone saw the price hike and jumped on the bandwagon for fear of missing out. When it hits a price you're comfortable selling at, sell. So to me, this is very much a back and forth. You got 2 individuals. One believes the booster boxes are going to do extremely well. One is very skeptical and thinks that the market is going to probably in a bubble, is super saturated, and then eventually it's going to pop and everything's going to go backwards. Like I said, I'm kind of in the middle between that. History has shown that booster boxes don't necessarily go up in value extremely fast. Last 3 years, pricing has just been crazy at how quickly they accelerated. There were times when booster boxes would sit 7-8 years and never move $1. And that was just the old trajectory of a lot of the trends that we were seeing in the Pokemon TCG at that time. Are we going to go back to that? That's the question. We don't know. There's so many new people, so much new blood, so much new activity and discussion. There's so much strength in this market currently that it's hard to believe that in the near future we're going to see a market go back to where it was prior to 2020 at the end of the day. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Now, it could, and it very well may head that way eventually, but right now it's just not in the foreseeable future in the Pokemon TCG. Now, do I think that, you know, at the end of the day going through this, that we are in a bubble? I don't think that we're in a bubble either. I think that we're seeing some good organic growth. I don't see everything as a speculative deal. I don't think as many people have huge, vast positions in these products as you think. I do know some people have very good positions in some of these products, but even someone such as myself, I don't have huge positions in any of these products. I've got position, but not a ton. I mean, you go back to Sword and Shield base set, Rebels Clash, you know, Darkness Blaze, Vivid Voltage, and I only have 1 case of each one of those. I don't have a huge position in any one of those. Number one, to me, they were really overvalued for a long period of time. Then they dropped down, and that's when I picked up a case of each, is when the value dropped because the market kind of crippled itself a little bit there at the end of 2021. And overall, I do agree that there's going to be some really difficult times trying to hype up those sets in the future. And that's partially why I don't think people are hyping it up now. I think overall you're having collectors trying to finish collections because there's a lot of new collectors in this hobby. There are people trying to finish their master sets. There are people that are playability. I am selling a ton of bulk Rebel Clash and Sword and Shield bulk cards. They sell like crazy. They're probably my number 1 and 2 selling sets right now. We're running into the end of the era. People are trying to finish up battle decks. People are doing things with those cards. I don't understand why they're still purchasing them, considering they'll be out of rotation. But whether they're building their old battle decks, trying to rebuild things and create new battle decks, or just doing testing to see what's going to work and how things work. But those are probably my 2 hottest selling sets, followed up by Darkness Ablaze, and then you can go into some Chilling Reign. Battle Styles has quite a bit of sales right now inside of it, and Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike has got probably my 3rd or 4th highest volume of sales when it comes down to selling trainers and bulk cards out of it. Interesting little combination there of where we're at on those particular cards, but yeah, I mean, that seems to be where things are falling. Overall, right now, I think that that's probably driving that price up a little bit, is just the fact that we're turning the era. People are going back. People are trying to finish collections. People are trying to finish their sealed collections. People are trying to do things in that background, and that's exactly why we're seeing these little things, which is why the ETBs from that particular set made it onto my list, was because you could still find them at Target and Walmart on top shelves and under or behind in the back of shelves for $39.99. Great investment. You're getting an instant $30 gratification investment by finding them on a shelf. So overall, that's why they made the list. And yes, they are moving up really slow. And I think that we're going to continue to see these gains until maybe a little bit further. We might see some stagnation on that eventually, but it's definitely not a position where I think we're in a bubble. Do I think that Sword and Shield base set it's overrated? I don't think it's overrated currently. I think it's probably right at market value. Overall print rates, especially on the booster boxes, were fairly low. We got that huge ETB reprint, but we didn't get a booster box reprint. Overall, Sword and Shield booster boxes are actually getting harder and harder to find. And I don't think it's because speculation and people that are hyping and FOMOing are buying all those boxes. It's just because of the low print rate. Same with Rebels Clash. I mean, there really wasn't a lot of Rebel Clash printed in a booster box form. Even ETBs. The ETBs are incredibly hard to find. There was a lot of them cardboard sleeve blisters printed, but there really wasn't a lot of the sealed product. So there again, we're seeing that product creep up due to the fact of the scarcity of it, not so much because people are hyping and FOMOing on that particular product. Overall, that's why I kind of went with Vivid Voltage and Darkness Ablaze on my list, was because I saw the potential of those ones going up in price. They do have some chase, Charizard Chase and Darkness Ablaze. Vivid Voltage has the amazing rares and the Rainbow Chunkachu inside of it, along with that nice full art cheap Pikachu and the Pikachu VMAX. So it's got a Pikachu package inside of there. And Pikachus, as we know, do extremely well. They're a really good card. Overall, if you can get some good PSA 10s and get some really good raws out of there, you have some great potential investments in that set. Overall, do I think it's going to be a high flyer, super catch Evolving Skies? No. We saw that moment when the boom was happening, and then when the first reprint happened, and we seen it fall. And now we're seeing just a nice, consistent gain on those products, which, once again, when I talk about a portfolio, I'm looking for a mix of maybe some high risk, some conservative, and some very, very moderate stuff. So we can see a good balanced portfolio of products to move forward. Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, they fall very much into that conservative, slow, but methodical gaining product at this point in time. Moving on to the next comments that were down in here. So there's a total of 7 comments. Next comment we have from Ozzy Dream. I get that. But the same thing happened to Sun and Moon. This series will follow the same trend. And I sold all my Sun and Moon booster boxes at a big profit. The only one I have left is a Crimson Invasion box, and even that's going up. It's worth about $400 Australian. Now, I only paid $120 for it, so it's my worst investment and still going to pay off more than double. Next thing James came up with is Sun and Moon was a set that released before Pokemon reached its current popularity. It's not comparable. Pokemon or Sun and Moon is far stronger too. Ozzy Dream. Okay, well priced. Well, prices are going up despite what you seem to think. So yeah, thanks for the advice, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the Sun and Moon thing. Yes, Sun and Moon is in a very particular spot because comparatively to Sword and Shield, it is a lot smaller print rate in it. There's a lot less print in that particular sets, and we are seeing the consequences of that on quite a few of the booster boxes and sealed products in the Sun and Moon era. Whether you look at Tag Team, you look at Cosmic Eclipse, you can go ahead and take a look at even Unbroken Bonds and Unified Minds, even going all the way back to the original ones of that particular Sun and Moon era. The booster boxes and that are doing extremely well. Low print rate has created that deal. Now, futuristically, do I see Sun and Moon being as strong as Sword and Shield? It's going to be hard to say. It's going to depend on how many people come back and what era that they were in. Sword and Shield is going to have the biggest potential for people to come back for nostalgic reasons. People that are my son's age, all the way up to 12, even 14 years old, may leave, go to college, get lives, come back at some point in time if there's another draw, and they're not going to go back to an era that they're not familiar with. Even like us coming back right now, we tend to go to the WotC era because I'm familiar with it. Personally, I am very familiar with WotC cards. I'm very familiar with going all the way through even EX cards. I understand gold stars. That was my time frame of where I was in the Pokemon TCG. When I came back into the hobby in 2019, my son loved Sun and Moon. I liked Unbroken Bonds, but I was always looking at WotC cards. That's just because that's where I was. And that's the natural gravitation for most people as to what they're familiar with. That's just human nature at the end of the day. So human nature is going to draw them back to what they're familiar with. So with the amount of people that have come into Sword and Shield at this point in time, with all the alternate arts, with all the things that are happening, amazing rares, the Rainbow Pikachu hunt, all of that thing was all occurring right when all these people in popularity was happening in the Pokemon TCG. Now, to me, that means potentially, and once again, this is all guessing at how humanity is and how things will move forward. If we have people come back in 10, 15 years, they're going to gravitate back probably more to the Sun and Moon era or Sword and Shield era. They're going to gravitate back to Sword and Shield era more than they will to Sun and Moon. They're going to have more of a pull to what they're familiar with, which is going to give Sword and Shield a better position at the end of the day than a lot of the Sun and Moon sets. I think the Sun and Moon sets have their glory time now. People like myself are trying to complete our sets and our collections going through Sun and Moon. I'm personally trying to buy booster boxes in the Sun and Moon era when I can get them. If they're available and just kind of fit in my last missing 6 booster boxes, Tag Team is one of them, and I've got 2 of them in my investing, and I'll probably just move one in. I was going to try and keep them both in investment, find another one, but I bought those at $825. Probably not going to go ahead and bite one at $1,400 and try and finish a collection. I'll probably just end up keeping one of my investment ones as a collection one, and hopefully the one will reach a point where it covers both. It's getting close, so I might be okay with that. But that's the mindset I think that we're looking at is futuristically, when you're dealing with collectibles, you have to put into a lot of factors. It's not just trends. It's not just because it's older, it's going to be more valuable. A lot of times it's where will people fall when they come back? Where will people fall when it comes down to the memories, the nostalgia, what cards they pulled that they love the best? And that's a big factor when it comes down to the overall performance of collectibles. Now we're going to take another look here because there's a few more comments. We got James Graves again coming up. Absolutely they are, because they're counting on past performance. It's speculation and people that don't know any better buying it, LOL. These sets are particularly nothing that isn't widely available in every slab and raw. Do you understand? There are going to be losers eventually. It's inevitable. Ozzy Dream responds, I guess we'll see then, won't we? But I'm hardly concerned because all the products I have bought are already going up in value. Given enough time, all Pokemon products increase in value. Even the trash from the XY era is worth a lot now, and God knows no one ever thought that this would happen. You had people after investing too heavy in sets like Roaring Skies, and now even that is going up to $1,000, while more popular sets like Evolving Skies are going to be worth much more, much quicker. So no matter what you're not going to lose money by investing into sealed product. Once again, that's a very big speculative statement. We don't know. You're banking on the fact that the markets will continue to go as they're going and not go back to historical trends for the last 24 years. Could they continue to go that way? Absolutely. We could continue to see these products continue to move in the upward trajectory that they've always done. Once again, you can sit there and really look at these products and even XY era stuff. XY era really had a big jump back in the boom because everybody's trying to buy anything that's Pokemon that was affordable. Overall, those sets have pretty much stagnated again. They really haven't moved much in that XY era. And it's just because of the fact that there's not a lot of people that have any kind of nostalgia in that era. It was a very slow time. I mean, you had a little bit of a burst there at the end of it with Roaring Skies and XY Evolutions, but that was because of Pokemon Go boom and kind of got a little bit of a jump of people inside of there, which is why we saw XY Evolutions, in my opinion, kind of go crazy. Number one, you had people wanting a base set, and something that was even myself. I bought 2 boxes of it right off the gate because, hey, I want the nostalgia of opening WotC style cards, but I can't afford WotC style cards. And that's exactly why XY Evolutions kind of did what it did. The second part of it is, you're right, there's a lot of printing in XY Evolutions. They overprinted a lot of the XY Evolution sets. If a XY Evolution set sold an opportunity to, or showed an opportunity to have sales, Pokemon went, run the printer, and they ran it to death. Roaring Sky is a perfect example. XY Evolution's a perfect example. So overall, those are just all consistencies that we have seen in the XY era. Now, is XY going to be a draw point for many people? Probably not. Not comparative to Sword and Shield and even the end of the Sun and Moon era. I think that you're once again going to have the draw on those two end of Sun and Moon, and most of Sword and Shield is really going to be your draw points. Going back to the other question, which was this, absolutely they are, because they're counting on the past performance, and it's true. I mean, a lot of people are counting on the past performance to continue moving forward. Will it continue to move forward? Who knows? We don't know how long this will go. Once again, my channel usually consists on staying on the conservative side and looking at the 24 years of history before just counting on the last 2.5 years of history, just because personally, longer trends tend to give you a direction on where to go, versus newer trends can be very volatile and unknown. Even in the last 2.5 years, we have seen that chart do this several times now, and we won't know where it goes until this market completely settles, and how many people are going to stay long term, how many people are going to be continuing to sell out, how many new people to replenish the people that are selling out will all be factors, and really determine if we're in a bubble or not. If we can continue to bring in new blood, new people, like we're continuing to see pretty consistently, Pokemon will continue to grow. We will see continual gains. We will see products continuing to move up. But when we stop replenishing the people that are leaving, that is when we're going to get to a point where we're going to be oversaturated. And then that balloon that we may create for 5 to 10 years may give way. If it's a balloon, if there is that ballooning effect happening. Overall, I don't know if it is. Like I said before, I just don't see the high pricing, the super overvalued sets. Even Evolving Skies, you want to call it an overvalued set, but I don't even know if that's even really overvalued, considering there was a lot of print rate originally, a lot of print that happened, but now there really isn't a lot of product even in the Evolving Skies category, and it's just going to continue to move up. But it's kind of stagnated now, even at that 360, 380 range. So that hasn't even continued to move forward just because of the pricing. Last comment we have here is going to be from James Graves before this ended here, and it's going to be, if you're getting in at MSRP, then absolutely, for products to be sold, it must be bought. I worry for the people thinking they need to hop on a set like Vivid Voltage at anything but MSRP. Again, XY has appreciated in value because collectors who've entered the hobby are playing catch up in what they think will be a missed opportunity if they don't buy a piece of the pie. However, setting a largely weak Steam Siege, you know as well as I do that it has nothing. Speculation and FOMO is driving prices, but there's really nothing in many of these sets but fluff. once again, it's really hard to look at XY. XY is one of those eras. I don't think people are playing catch up. Even personally, myself, I don't do anything in XY. Um, I don't have any reason to go there. There's no reason. There's no draw for me as a person there. The overall draws in that set, I know that there's some people that are attracted to XY evolutions. There are some people that are attracted to Roaring Skies. There's some people that are back in the hobby that left for a little bit that are now in the hobby again, that are going back to their nostalgia, which is why we kind of see those prices moving up. And compared to the number of people in the hobby when we were in the crazy times, yes, everything went up. And I think a lot of these pricing, these big jumps and things we've saw were all repercussions of 2020. And they just kind of settled because there's no product to replenish what was lost. Everything got open, box breakers were opening everything. Products were getting torn open as fast as possible with no replenishing rates, which means the pricing will continue to move up. Overall, that's why I think we're seeing kind of a stagnation of most of the XY products right now. We're not seeing big movements in that particular era just because there's no real draw to most of the people that go down to it. Now, when it comes down to most of the sets being fluff, overall, I think most of the modern sets currently have a good drawing point. Alternate arts will continue to be a big draw. Moving into even Scarlet and Violet, we're seeing the nice artworks with the trifectas of different Pokemon going through the stages of life or different types of art forms of the same, the evolutions of the characters, which are going to be a huge draw. Even going through a lot of the trainer galleries. The trainer galleries are very, very nice little art pieces that are thrown into these sets. Jumping into Vivid Voltage at anything but MSRP. Now, that's a tricky one because booster boxes, I hate the term MSRP. And I'm going to say why. How many people, even in investing terms, buy booster boxes at MSRP? I don't think I have bought a single booster box on MSRP of a booster box. I have not purchased a booster box at $144. Typically, I try and purchase them around 110 or under if I can. That's just personally me. So that MSRP jump in point, Vivid Voltage is still technically under MSRP of the set. Now, granted, it's not at its low at that 110, and it has had some very nice gains. But overall, once again, it comes down to when do you want to jump in? When's the right timing? Do you see reprints of Vivid Voltage coming? Do you see a reason why people would all of a sudden dump Vivid Voltage if they are sitting on it? Is the hunt for Chunkachu going to die to the point where nobody's ever going to remember it? Are the amazing rares in that set not going to be worth anything in the future? Are the full art and VMAX Pikachu in that set going to go and down in value and lose value? I don't think so. We've seen enough of those graded. The grading market's been saturated. The raw market's where it is. And we're still seeing continuing increases on the product. That tells me that the product itself might be a little bit undervalued because there's nothing really pushing that booster box forward, but yet it's still gaining in price. There's not like the Chunkachu is going for $400 or $500 again. It's going for about $110 to $120 for a raw Rainbow Pikachu. I think even the PSA 10, I think it was like $250. It's not like it's an expensive card. So overall, there's not a real draw, but yet I don't believe that these sets are full of fluff. These sets have really, really good bones to them, especially the later part of the Sword and Shield era. Even, Battle Styles is iffy. There really is no fan favorite Pokemon except for Tyranitar inside of there. And that sleepy Tyranitar is what you're really banking on trying to drive that set forward when it comes down to popularity contests. Overall, like I said, I think that there's some great opportunity in the markets. I think there's some great opportunities in both sides of this. And like I said, to me, this is a yin and yang discussion. You've got one person that's on the way left and you got one person that's on the way right. I like to put myself right in the middle between these two. I'm skeptical of the market overall, of its performance and how it will continue to move forward. But I'm not to the point where I think we're in a bubble where the market's going to collapse and the people are going to completely eat it when it comes down to the end of time with Pokemon. I don't think that there's right now the place in the market currently that I see that happening. Now, if you were in the reprintable area stuff, possibly. If you're buying a lot of Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest, and Lost Origin at today's pricing, you might be putting yourself at risk for reprint, but I do think that they will also recover. That Lost Origins Trainer Gallery is a big draw on that particular set, plus the Giratina card. On top of it, that Lugia V is still doing really well, sitting at about $200, even this close to release. I think it's at $190 right now today for that value of that card raw. PSA 10 is still running about $380 currently to $400 for that card. So overall, doing really well. And no reprints of that particular set in sight, same with Lost Origins. But that could switch very quickly. Jumping onto those particular sets in the reprint section of their times is a very hard pass for me right now until I see some stability. That's why I like sets like Vivid Voltage, Darkness Blaze. You know, I don't like Rebels Clash and Sword and Shield as much just because there aren't really anything in there that's going to draw. They're a mechanic set. They're not a real fan favorite draw set. And that's a big factor when it comes down to it. And you got to take that into consideration when you're making these decisions. So once again, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said, that's good discussion. Maybe they'll continue on and you guys can check that out. I'll definitely link the video down below so you guys can jump down to the description and definitely find this. It'll be down in the comment section of it. Other than that, guys, hopefully this is some good information. Hopefully this is good discussion on these things. Once again, trying to keep up with something like that and actually writing each comment to each point would be very difficult, but doing it in this setting is really nice. I can just sit down and really look at the comment, discuss it with you guys, and really put my mindset onto it on where my positioning is on these. They both have very good points. They both have very good, doubts and excitements and optimism and pessimism, all wrapped in these two individuals. So thanks for the comments on that. Once again, it's great to see this particular commenting happening in the videos because this is something you can look at and helps you learn or maybe see different points of view. So once again, thank you, Ozzy Dream and James Graves, for definitely putting these comments up there. If you continue, awesome. I'd like to hear some more viewpoints from both of you because you're definitely having some really nice conversation currently. But hopefully this is some good information. Hopefully this gives you a little bit different perspective kind of between the two and kind of explaining my point of view on these two. And then once again, if you do like this kind of content, as always, hit that subscribe button, guys. Be sure you hit that subscribe if you're new here to catch the new videos, know when we're doing new things. And last but not least, hit that like button, especially if you made it this far into the video. Hit that like button. It's very much appreciated that we can keep moving this channel forward and get them likes. Other than that, guys, I will see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.